Scott, thank you for joining us. Obviously, after a disrupted midweek, we're back at home to face Salford City this weekend. Can I get your reflection ahead of that game?
Yeah, another tough game. They've recently appointed a new manager in Carl Robinson, a very experienced manager. They had a draw last week with Forest Green, and they were very competitive in the game. So we know it's going to be a tough game again.
Yeah, obviously looking forward to being back at home. We were meant to have a midweek game this week, obviously called off for reasons that we all know by now. Has that affected the sort of changing routine of the players, or has that not really been much of a hiccup?
Yeah, it's been a big hiccup in my opinion. We were on the road for a good 5 hours on Wednesday for no reason, which meant the players had been in on Monday and Tuesday to prep for that game. And then we travelled all the way up there, so the players had been in, which meant that we had to give them a bit of time away from everywhere yesterday. So we've prepared today as best as we can. So yeah, we just have to get on with it.
Is this one of the games that's particularly challenging to prepare for, considering that Carl Robinson obviously come in, he's only had one game and potentially you could say he hasn't really had a chance to put his mark on that Salford side yet. Is that one of the difficult ones to sort of analyse still?
I think it'll be a difficult game anyway. Just because of Carl coming in, I think that they played with a real energy last week. They were real front foot, aggressive, pressed really well. Played forward aggressively. And I think that he's obviously been brought in to change their results. They've not won for a long time, and I'm sure Carl will put that right eventually. Let's hope it's after Saturday.
I'm sure after the disruption of midweek, you're delighted to be back at home, not having to do any more travelling this week. We've picked up some, really impressive away results recently, and I'm sure that you and the lads are just concentrating on getting that home form back that we know we've had for pretty much all of the season and last season as well.
Yeah, for sure. We've gone back to back now in terms of our wins, so we want to go back to back to back. And I think when you do that with the position that we are in the table, then we're going to be in touch, if not in the playoffs. So it's important to us that we keep winning, and it's important to me that we keep performing the way we are. I was really pleased with a different kind of performance last week at Bradford. I felt that, albeit we didn't make the passes that we normally make, and we didn't dominate possession like we normally do, but we showed a real character in that game, and that's pleasing for me because I think that most people in football, when they see a possession-based team, they kind of label you with having a soft underbelly. Well, we haven't, and I think last week was a real challenge against a tough side in Bradford, and I think it proved that we haven't got a soft underbelly. So, whatever the opposition throw at us, we can cope with, hopefully, and like I say, Saturday will be a tough game against a team that will be front foot, aggressive, with a new manager, and the players will want to impress him. So we know it's going to be tough, but every game is, it's about what we do.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're going to try and scrape any positives out of the postponement on Wednesday night, it is that we can carry the momentum from Bradford into games like this, and we know how important momentum can be for teams.
Yeah, for sure. No, we're doing well at the moment. I think we've won 3 out of 4. And the one we lost was MK Dons, and I thought we were excellent in that game as well. So we're doing okay. We're doing just fine. We just got to keep maintaining it and picking points up and keep performing. That's important to me.
And we know this team can do it because we went through that period. I think it was in September where we went several games unbeaten. So I'm sure it's just looking back to that and seeing how we can start picking up consecutive results, as you say, instead of win loss.
Exactly right. And I've said this to the players. We've got to confirm it. We've got ourselves in a really good position at times, and then we've not confirmed it. So it's important to me that we keep winning and we keep confirming what we are, which is a good side in my opinion.
Cool. And these questions are on behalf of Mark Dunford from the Crawley Observer. First one is, how have the squad recovered after the trip to Peterborough? You mentioned a lot, travelling is hard. So is that been hard? Have you given them any extra days off because of it, or is it one of those you want to get them straight back on the training ground?
Well, they've recovered. I mean, it wasn't a tough journey as such, but it was just a wasted journey, So they've recovered from it. There was no problem with it. It was just a waste. If we'd have gone up there and played the game, I planned on certain players playing for 50 minutes. I'd planned that, and I felt that it was almost like a training session in many ways, even though it was a competitive game, and thought it would be good preparation going into Saturday. But we've gone all the way up there and not, put our boots on, which is a shame. And then we've given Thursday off, and we've trained today on Friday.
Is it likely to affect your plans in terms of who starts against Salford, or will it be the same plan as what you had before?
No, not at all. Not at all. Horses for courses. You pick a side, to play against different teams. So yeah, it hasn't disrupted that at all.
It's the second time in 2 league games where you're playing a side who have got a different manager from when you last played them earlier on in the season. We know you do a lot of analysis before the games. Firstly, is there anything you noticed from Carl Robinson's Salford than when Ian Wood was in charge at the beginning of the season when you played them?
Yeah, I think so. I think probably just the attitude of the players. Obviously, a new manager comes in and you see an upturn in performance. I think that was really relevant to see, or clear to see last week. They were as aggressive, they were front foot, they pressed really hard, they worked hard, they landed on second balls, they punched the ball forward to Big Smith at the top of the pitch, and they got around him. And it was an aggressive performance by them, and we're expecting much of the same on Saturday.
Given we've seen a few managerial changes in League Two, as a manager, do you think that clubs are too quick to change the managers, or is that just the nature?
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah, for sure. I think that's, if you speak to every manager, I think that there's too many times managers lose their job, and I think the teams that keep their managers for longer usually have more success.
You made your first signing of the window this week. How has Ryan settled into the camp so far?
Yeah, Ryan's done great. We've got a lot of good feedback about Ryan. He's a good goalkeeper, and somebody we really like, and we watched, in detail, and really pleased to get him over the line.
And do you have a full squad to pick from tomorrow? How has everybody come through the last week or so?
Yeah, Ben Gladwin's the only one now he's just had some surgery done on his knee last week, so he's going to be out for a while. But he's the only one, so everybody else is fighting fit.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
Hello guys, can you hear me all right?
Got you. Yeah.
Lovely. Scott, a year yesterday you were announced as Crawley manager. The club has come on leaps and bounds in that year, but what do you want to see developed as a club over the next year?
I think the biggest thing for me, excuse me, and I've said it before, is that we need to make sure each year we look like we're improving. I think there's a clear improvement from where we was this time last year, and I think that next year we want to see an improvement again. And I think that if we have that, eventually we'll get to where we want to get to. We don't want them steps to be small steps. We'd like to be big steps. But that will depend on obviously what happens on the pitch. Certainly I'll do the work in order for the team to look like a winning side. And I think what's important to me is the way we play. The performances are everything for me. I'd like to think that people can come and watch Crawley play and watch a really good side play some really good football, and that's important to me. And I think we've certainly built that this season. We want to see an improvement in that for next season. But yeah, I think just improving year on year is important.
Of course, we're in the January transfer window. This time last year, there were a lot of players being sold by the owners. Tom Nichols, for instance, had just left. But is that backing that you're getting from the owners now, is that potentially different from how it was when you first arrived in the situation with the whole club?
Oh yeah, it's different from last year for sure. I think there was a lot of players in the building that potentially wasn't good enough to play in the team, in my opinion. We had to tidy that up, and that's not me being disrespectful to anybody. I just felt that I felt as well that the squad was imbalanced. We had a certain amount of fullbacks on one side and no fullbacks on the other, and things like that. It was kind of all over the place. So it needed a certain tidy up, which over the course of the time of me being here, it's been done. And I feel that we've got a decent squad now. Can we improve on that? Yeah, for sure. Do I want to improve on it? For sure. I'm greedy. I don't want to just stand still with what I've got, albeit I think that the playing squad that I've got have been outstanding, have been brilliant. The players have been outstanding. But it's always nice to add a few new faces to that as well.
And so what is the attitude from the owners at the moment? As we just said, so that a year ago, it could have been a message of, well, we need to, make sure that the ship continues, make sure we stay in the league. But what is it now? What do they want from this January, and what do they want out?
Well, I think what's important to the owners is the fact that we're on level points with the playoff places. That's a big thing for them, and the fact that we're in that position, they're gonna try and help me. Bring some players in that are going to help us for the push for the end of the season. So, no, they've been really supportive. There's a lot of work going on in the background. I think we all need to probably understand that there's a lot of moving parts to bringing just one player in. There's a lot of moving parts to it and a lot of time taken. But there's been a lot of work going on in the background by the owners, must I say, and myself and my staff as well. I spent pretty much the whole of yesterday afternoon watching players, going through and watching the players who's kind of high on our list in real detail. So a lot of work going in, but like I say, a lot of work has to be done just to get one over the line.
And just finally, Scott, how are you feeling ahead of this Salford game as well?
Confident. I think that it's important that I have that confidence because the team have done great of late. We've gone back-to-back wins now against some tough opposition. And the players are in good spirits and they're in a good place. And we're going into this game really confident. I know it's going to be a tough game. Like I say, Carl Robinson's come in. He had his first game last weekend with Salford against Forest Green. They drew 2-2. But they were really competitive in the game, really, really competitive in the game, and we know it's going to be much the same this Saturday as well.
And the opposition, And the opposition this Saturday, Salford, it almost seems that Crawley and Salford have switched in league positions from where you were both at last season. Their position where they're at the moment, is that something to be taken advantage of when you reflect on when you were last season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, they've not won a game for a long, long time. But we have to look at that differently now in many ways because of the new manager coming in, I felt that they had a really strong performance last weekend, a really strong performance because they're having a go for their new manager. That's not to say that they didn't for the old one, but for whatever reasons, the results won't come in. And they haven't come for a long, long time. I think it's probably middle of October since they last won a league game. It's a long time. But it's different now because they've got a new manager. He'll be asking different things of them. They'll respond positively towards that because it's natural. You want to do well for your new boss. And I did see that in the game that they played last week against Forest Green. I saw a real aggressive performance by them. And like I say, I'm expecting much the same this weekend as well.